Okay, we can get started. I'll have a call to order. The meeting is started at 6:02 p.m.
Stephanie, if you're going to be taking the reins here, if you want to do a call to order and with a roll call with everybody.
Okay, I'm doing a roll call now. The call to order is at 6:02, and let's do a roll call. Okay, David Felchuk.
Here.
Okay. Kate Lafferty Downer.
Here.
And our solicitor, John Hart.
Here.
Okay, and we certainly want to welcome Kate Lafferty Danner. She has been appointed by the controller, John Murray, to fill the vacancy that will continue until 8/23, until August 23. And also thank you to Dave, who agreed to be reappointed to this board. So let's start by reading the minutes from the July meeting, going all the way back to July, and also we need to approve those minutes. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes and to suspend the reading of the minutes?
I make a motion, we suspend the reading of the minutes and move for approval.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Great, thanks. Okay, let's move on to reports, and we'll start with the solicitor's report.
First, we have the pending complaint. Just Kate, in order to catch you up to speed, we've had one complaint filed within our board so far, and that was around the beginning of this year. I think maybe towards the end of last year is when it first came up. We do have an independent investigator assigned to doing that. His name is Ryan Campbell. He's been handling that matter, and the board's position right now is supposed to be completely unrelated to what's going on, as part of a separation for anonymity for everything and to ensure that there's no bias. I actually had an opportunity to speak with him. He's already been wrapping this matter up, and I believe he told me that he's going to be sending over his final report to the board this Friday. He's just making some last minute revisions and everything, and that's the first time that the board will actually have the opportunity to review the facts within that complaint to see what parties are at interest or at issue with that. So really, the board hasn't had much involvement with that, if any, until we finally get that final review. If you review our code, you can see the procedure of what has to be followed in order for a complaint to be resolved. As far as any questions about that?
No, thank you. Thanks for that.
Do we have any indication that we will be continuing the process, or his report ends the process? Or we
Yep. Everything. I think the matter will be a first blush upon our review of the final report.
Okay.
That's when the board finally has the ability to step in to understand what's going on. Obviously, Kate, for ratification involves, it has to involve a city official or employee in order for it to be carried out. But yeah, as of right now, we don't know the contents of it or who was at issue. This actually is a good segue to my next report regarding advisory opinions. We have had an ongoing potential issue with Mr. Campbell. At least it was brought to us by City Solicitor regarding a potential conflict of interest, because he works at a law firm that at the time, I believe, the Attorney O'Brien, who's solicitor for the mayor, had asked whether or not Mr. Campbell had any involvement with ongoing cases against the city of Scranton. And he said that, well, maybe it's not a direct conflict with any case that he's working on right now. And we don't know yet, obviously, because we don't know what's going on in that first complaint. But upon us getting the final report, we'll know who was at issue and whether or not there would have been a conflict with Mr. Campbell working on it. Now, I have reached out to Attorney Campbell to see if there's anything that he sees on his face that would be an issue. He said no, as of the day when I asked him, he didn't have any cases against the city of Scranton. He did since then send me an email recently in the past 2 weeks, I'd say, saying that he talked to a partner at his firm because he was under the impression that their firm had no cases pending against the city of Scranton, none that he was aware of. So then he actually wanted to conduct an audit throughout his firm, or at least he asked his partner, and his partner indicated that they do now have one case that his partner signed up that does involve a suit against the city of Scranton. So again, I don't think as of right now we would know whether or not there's any issue, because I think Attorney Campbell's essentially done with his investigation towards his first complaint. But I think upon us getting the final report, we can make a determination whether or not there would be a conflict of interest. And if so, we could always we can obtain consent from the city for him to finalize his investigation, and they can waive actually the conflict. As of right now, and Stephanie, I think you'd agree, this came to light at the beginning of the year, this complaint, and Attorney Campbell has been, I was and Kate, just so you know, he was actually the second attorney on that matter, because the very first individual who was assigned with it, Jamie Davis, immediately saw a conflict. I think she knew one of the parties at issue. So she informed that to us, so she wasn't able to conduct her investigation. That's when we appointed Attorney Ryan Campbell. And at that time, he was aware that there were no conflicts. So he started his investigation, and then throughout the course of the summer, there was some roadblocks, I guess, with the city officials that he was were employees who he was investigating with a subpoena. They weren't willingly giving away information they have. So we did have to assist him just to form a subpoena, because within the code of ethics, we do have, the board has subpoena powers, and that includes the investigative officer. So he did subpoena for some records from interested parties within the city, and he received those. And I believe Stephanie, as reviewing our minutes from our last meeting, that's when Attorney Campbell informed us that he was, I think he taking a recorded statement, or I don't think it was an actual deposition, but a recorded statement of the subject of that complaint. And then that would help him put together his opinion on this matter. So we're waiting to see what his final report has to say. Once we receive that, I think we'll be able to kill two birds with one stone to see whether or not there was a conflict. After, if there is a conflict, it would have arose during his investigation, but not when he first took on that case. And then we'll also be able to determine, obviously, the complaint itself. And that's all we have right now with regards to advisory opinions. And Stephanie, I also saw you have additional updates, and I don't have anything else to address right now, but obviously I would love to hear some questions regarding the advisory opinions.
John, could you briefly explain to Kate the difference between the complaint process and advisory opinions?
Oh, absolutely. So Kate, if somebody within the city files a complaint, if you go through our codes, also on our website now, I believe we have the whole process for the form. If they think that there's some wrongdoing or some violation of our code, they can file a complaint. Then that has to be immediately assigned to an investigative officer appointed by the board. And the officer, actually, it has to be an attorney within the Lackawanna County Bar Association. And then they have to do, and Stephanie, forgive me for not quickly using the proper terms, but they would have to first do like a preliminary investigation to see whether or not there's any merit whatsoever. And no more than our criminal system, an officer, if he's going to investigate a crime, That's up to their discretion. If they think there's enough evidence to move forward, then it will be brought forward to court and then disposed of. Likewise with this, the investigative officer has sole autonomy in this decision, because and the reason is that is, as you can imagine, if somebody's going to make an allegation that somebody else within the city is doing something wrong, if it's purely an allegation, it's up to that investigative officer to dispose of it swiftly, because then you don't have a rumor being passed around. And that's why the board isn't supposed to be made privy to this yet. It's all about separation. Then if after the preliminary investigation, that investigative officer finds that there is some merit, some truth behind this, and as you can imagine, a lot of things are probably submitted that wouldn't have any merit. But if he thinks it arises, or she thinks it arises at that level, then they will conduct their own investigation, and they're going to start discussing it with, it's a formal investigation. They'll be able to interview the subject of that, and then also the individual that brought it forth, the complainant. After they gather all their evidence, they're going to put together a formal opinion to determine whether or not the subject was in violation of the Code of Ethics within Scranton. At that point in time, it gets sent over to the board, and that's the first time the board has the opportunity to review this, and they can make that determination. And the subject has the right to appeal it and take a hearing on the matter, or he can, or she can agree to it, and it's up to the board to determine the penalties, which are enumerated within the code. There's several things that can be done. One could be a simple way to cure it or to prevent it from occurring again in the future. Versus an advisory opinion. Advisory opinions, and we've, I would say we've had a few already. I think more than many people would have expected, right, Stephanie?
Right, several.
Yeah, probably a dozen, I would say, almost in the past year and a half. And that's usually a city official or employee would reach out to the board and use it as a tool in their aid. So if they think that, I know the mayor sent over a few requests or different members of her staff, they might say, we want to do this, but we want to make sure that we're doing this that's within the confines of our code. So they want to just basically get opinions as advice. What can we do to do this properly? I know, especially during the pandemic, it created a couple of different issues with donations to the city, and a lot of people want to help out those that were emergency workers helping us. And I believe one comes to mind, Stephanie, right? With the mayor was receiving a gift, but it was really a gift to the city, and it was from a different country. Stephanie, where was that from? Just so I know.
Japan.
Okay, yeah, they want to give like an honorary gift to the mayor, things like that. So the mayor wants to make sure, it's not me receiving that gift, it's the city. So it's guidance. They're there, and then it's just like a court system. It's setting precedents. So now we know it's case law. So we know what can we do in the future to make sure that we're in full compliance. Those are the main differences.
And several of those advisory opinions are posted on our webpage. So they're available to the public. And as John said, they really set a precedent so that people who have similar questions can look at the advisory opinion.
Yep.
It's probably been the most successful part of our work so far.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Okay. Dave, did you have
Thank
any
you so much
questions?
for that.
Yeah. Did you have any
No, that
questions?
was really helpful for me. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Kate or Dave, do you have questions about any of the advisory opinions? I know Dave has seen the most recent.
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that, John, you did raise the issue of the mayor accepting coverage of expenses for conferences. Did you prepare an advisory opinion on that? Or was that?
No, I thought at our last meeting we decided we didn't need an advisory opinion for that because it wasn't, yeah.
Okay. All right, are we ready to move on to the next part of the agenda? Okay, The chair's report. Well, we don't have a chair anymore. Our chair resigned at the end of last month. And as the only remaining officer, I have agreed to convene and conduct the meetings until we have our organization meeting in January. So every January, we should be organizing for the year, selecting officers, etc. Do we need to take any kind of action on that change? Is it okay for me, John, to just continue as secretary and just assume some of these responsibilities?
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, everything is like a sitting position
Okay,
until you can have a full board again.
okay. Okay,
Acting, I should say.
okay. All right. So speaking about a full board, we do have 2 vacancies. And I checked with the city clerk's office. City council has advertised to fill their vacancy on the board. And unfortunately, they have not had any applicants. And President of Council, Bill Gahn, has announced they're seeking some applicants at both board meetings, all council meetings, as well as advertising in a legal announcement, and they have not had any applicants. I did alert the city clerk to the fact that with 2 vacancies, it's difficult for us to have a quorum for meetings. So we really hope that those vacancies will be filled soon. The mayor, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Steph, did you say that city council, are they announcing that at every weekly meeting that they're
Yes.
seeking applicants? Okay.
Yes, and President Gahn has also asked the members of city council to reach out and try to find some applicants. The law department has advised me that the mayor is well aware that she needs to fill a vacancy and has, according to them, has someone in mind, but hasn't completed that process. So hopefully we will have one of those vacancies filled soon. So that's where we are with those vacancies, and hopefully we will have one filled by the next, I'll be hopeful and say by the next meeting. Any questions? And let me just say, since this is being broadcast to anyone who is listening, please consider applying for one of those vacancies. I don't believe it would be appropriate for us to actively look and recruit applicants, but we can at least say on this broadcast that there are 2 vacancies, and this is very important work for this setting. Any other comments? Okay, we don't have a finance report because the person who used to provide that is no longer with us. And I'm not sure at this point whether there would be a lot of information in the finance report. Our only expenses thus far have been for public announcements. We did renew the rental of the post office box. That's taken care of. And in addition, we have paid fees to John. Hopefully, our investigative officer will provide us with an invoice soon. It's especially important before the end of the year so that his fees would be covered in this budget. So John.
Yeah, I'll make sure to mention that to him.
Right.
I'll ask him to submit that on Friday with his final report.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yep.
Okay, gift subcommittee report, Kate. Just to let you know that there is a gift subcommittee. 2 members are on the gift subcommittee, and the code very clearly says that all gifts must be reported, and anything that is not de minimis, the gift subcommittee must respond to. And we have done that a few times. The most recent submission from the city clerk's office is from a form submitted by the mayor for a de minimis gift. I think it was a baseball from someone, and that's probably on display at City Hall. So there are forms that have to be completed. They have to be submitted to the city clerk's office and then sent on to the gift subcommittee. And currently I'm the remaining member of the gift subcommittee. And in January, we will change that. Okay, other business, approval of Times Tribune public notice invoices. We have 2 outstanding invoices, one for the cancellation of the August meeting for $46.40, and another for the cancellation of the September meeting for $50.95. And I sent you copies of those invoices. So do we have a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve payment of both invoices.
Okay. And a second?
And I second that.
Okay. Okay. And Dave, if need be, can you go to the business administrator's office and sign for us?
And sign for it? Yeah, absolutely. What would be a good day for me to do that?
Let me check. I'll check with them. And
Okay, you can send me an email and let me know when it's good to go over. And I'm
Okay.
happy to do that.
Okay, also included in our materials are our quick guide to the code of ethics. And I guess at this point, I want to know, do we want to continue with this? We decided that as part of our educational responsibilities, that we wanted to put together a quick guide. And I put it together in trifold, which might be hard for you to follow. As to how I sent it, you have to imagine that this is printed back to back. And we had planned to make it available in the Human Resources Office, as well as the library and some other areas around the city, to let both employees and residents know that what we're doing. And so this is just a draft, and I think we need to decide whether we want to table this idea until January or whether we should proceed. We had talked about getting it printed on nice paper, getting it professionally done. The other option would be to have it just printed on regular paper and distributed. So what are your thoughts?
I think given that the board is currently down 2 members, I think it might be advisable to table it until after the first of the year.
Any other discussion?
No, I mean, I'd be more than happy to work on it when we do end up picking that back up again. So I'd be interested in where, if you have I don't know if you have like a committee that, or if it's just you, Stephanie, but I'd be happy to work with you on that.
Well, actually, our former chair and I worked on it together. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind if you took a look at it and just maybe at the next meeting, let us know if you could just proof it, if you have ideas about how it could be set up. I think we could, if it's okay with you, Dave, we can continue the discussion, but not make any decision until January. Yes, Dave? I can't hear you. You must be.
Yes, that sounds
Okay.
fine.
Okay, so if Kate's willing to proof it and maybe have some suggestions about what we can do with it, but knowing that we're not going to make a big decision on how we produce it until January. Okay,
That sounds good.
Thanks, Kate. Okay, next on our other business is candidates' compliance with the code. Kate, another part of the code, and we're just sorting out the pieces of the code here and what we need to be doing over the past year. There also is a section on candidates for city office and how they have to comply with the code. And there are several requirements for them. We did send letters to all of the candidates for city office. They also received some information from the county election board. So they were well aware of those requirements. Most people actually complied. I visited the city clerk's office and looked through all the forms, and only 2 people, even though they had initially complied, they did not continue with some required reports. Our former chair was going to contact them, and I know, John, he talked with you about what that contact might be.
Yes, he did. And it's going back, I think, 2 months now. We were working on a letter to fashion to send out to them, and I know that I had drafted that for him, but to be honest, I think he announced that he was leaving the board shortly thereafter. I think it would make sense for us to send him an email to see. I don't know, did he reach out to you about whether or not he sent it to those 2 people that weren't in compliance? No. All right, well,
Well,
let's see.
there's only 2 weeks until the election.
Right. Let's see. I mean, I'll review the code to see what penalties are. If there's anything else we can do to make sure that within 2 weeks that they're in compliance. I think even with an email, it wouldn't be too difficult to reach out to them ASAP.
Right, just to remind them. Yeah, I'm not sure we want to threaten to knock anybody off the ballot at this point.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you can just send those emails, your information to me, and I can just send emails. Actually, I'll have to send a letter. I think it needs to be in letter form, and just remind them that they have some outstanding reports.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Makes sense.
All right, we're moving pretty quickly here. Public participation. At our last meeting, which was held in person, we had a member from the public who made a couple of requests at the meeting. She wanted to make sure that people knew where to contact us. So we have revised the webpage to clearly include the address for any general inquiries, and the address for submission of a complaint. We also revised the quick guide to include those addresses. So we did take her suggestions and implement them. I also received an email from a member of the public who showed up for our August meeting, who was not aware that we were not meeting. And he asked whether our webpage could announce those changes of locations of meetings. And so we have also updated the webpage to show that tonight and subsequent meetings will probably be virtual, at least for the end of the year. And we, in our public ad in the newspaper, we advised residents that they could submit comments or questions by 2 o'clock this afternoon to be included in the official record tonight. And any emails. Any questions? And I think because the mayor is discouraging in-person meetings, at City Hall, we will be meeting virtually for the end of the year. Yeah. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Our other option would be to meet in the community room at Neog Park. I'm not sure that you're aware that what used to be the concession stand is now a community room, and some boards are opting to meet there. So that would be an option as well. Is there a preference?
It's up to you guys.
I have no preference.
Okay. I think we're going to be running into the Christmas display at Neog.
Yep.
So it's probably best for us to meet virtually if everybody's agreeable. Okay. All right, we're down to our just announcement of our next meeting. It will be November 17th, Wednesday at 6 p.m. And we will conduct it virtually again.
Okay.
And our next piece of business is adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
And I'll second that motion.
thank you. The meeting is adjourned at 6:34. I told you, Dave, we would keep it short.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Enjoy your evening.
See
everyone.
y'all later. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Take care.
Thanks so
Thank you,
much.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.